Just as a heads up, we do have 15.
15?
About 15
I will...
minutes, so...
15 till you have to be on stage?
Yep, that's right.
I'll set my...
And I can walk right on. I'm simple, so I can go right up, too.
Well, I think I was reading on your webpage that this is, Dear Genre is, a stage name for you. It's not just your band.
Yeah, that's
right. So
right.
is it just you on stage? I tried to listen to some of the music today, but...
Well, thanks for that.
Yeah.
It varies, Dear Genre's been kind of one of the great things about naming a project Dear Genre was it kind of gave people pause, So part of it's like, hey, I'm not going to play one style of music, right? Mm-hmm. It speaks to the genreless kind of effect that my music has, and then the other effect is kind of like you can see me on stage as a 2-piece, as a 6-piece, or as a solo.
Okay.
So I do all the writing and all the production, and I play everything on the records.
Okay.
And then, I either play solo, like you'll see me tonight, or I hire people out.
Okay.
And, like I said, I've been everything from a 2-piece to a 6-piece.
Cool.
And then solo, so
yeah,
really has no set way.
Do you have a preference? Do you like playing with people else on stage?
I prefer it. Yeah, I'm a drummer.
Okay.
I started playing drums when I was 5, and so usually, like when Ghost Tail came through St. Louis and saw Dear Genre play, we were on the same bill, and I was playing drums and singing, and then I had a guitarist, a bassist, and that was it. Okay, so we were playing as a 3-piece last year. So yeah, I prefer the full sound because I produce records as the full sound. I named it Dear Genre also because I wanted people to think it was a band and not a person.
Yeah.
So I like the band effect.
It's the opposite of bands who name themselves after people's names.
That's right.
Just get really confused.
Yeah. Like there's a band called Comtrues. That's a pun on Tom Cruise.
Okay.
And I thought about naming my band a person too, but then I didn't want to get in trouble.
You an entirely different name than your own name?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Normally people hear my name and they ask me where I'm from, and so I wanted to avoid that at all costs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Reading a little bit on your website, it talks about how there is some Middle Eastern influences or Turkish influences. I don't know how that got involved, but how is it mixing those influences with popular music or just with rock music?
Sure. Well, I've always been a fan of worldly music, So at 5 years old, I told you I started playing drums at 5, and
your parents must have been very happy.
Oh, they were stoked. They were stoked. But you know what? They were supportive through the noise.
Okay, cool.
They're both PhDs in pharmacy, so they were very accepting of me going a different way. Mm-hmm. I just knew right off the bat that if my parents were doctors, that I never wanted to have to try to fill those shoes.
Yeah.
I was never going to be that. You know what I mean? So I was taught by a Turkish foreign exchange student, actually.
Okay.
You called it an au pair when they come to take care of the kids. And, my mom and dad were off at work, and he noticed, kind of my musical sensibilities as a young kid. Mm-hmm. And he, sat my parents down there, look, he's got, he's either autistic or he's got a musical brain. But I think we should invest in this. A little bit of both, maybe. But he bought me my first drum set and guitar.
Oh, nice.
And so right off the bat, started playing drums when I was 5 and was proficient by the time I was 6. Okay. So I really got it down. And I've just always been a fan of worldly music, of kind of the non-popular sound, heavy influence of kind of the sitar's a very interesting instrument to me. Mm-hmm. So a lot of my music has kind of that Middle Eastern sound, like you said. I'm not sure what necessarily does it for me, but it just gets my goat.
But you get to mix things together, going with the whole genre-less kind of thing. You can just use whatever sounds you want to use that sound cool,
and nobody asks questions because the name's Dear Genre. Yeah. So kind of I don't like to answer questions or this interview's great. Yeah. But
I haven't been asking any questions. You've just been talking this whole time, really.
Oh yeah. I'm just talking. You don't even exist.
I know.
You're not even here.
Yeah. I'm glad to help out.
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah. So that's where it comes from a little bit.
Okay. Cool. With kind of being genreless, I know a lot of bands and musicians kind of depend on a genre to inform their audience what they're going to see or to get an audience. So how do you kind of counteract that? Or has that been a challenge for you?
It hasn't been.
No, that's cool.
It hasn't. But well, That's a great question. It's a really good question. Maybe I'd be better off if I had one set way.
It might be easier, but not
it might
as
be
fun.
easier.
Yeah.
But I do get a lot of positive feedback that, maybe the song 1 on a record will be stripped down acoustic, and song 2 will be like a bombastic Middle Eastern sounding song. So people, in my opinion, people tend to like that. Maybe it's because I like that.
Yeah.
But again, maybe they would gravitate more towards it if it was more in.
But it also gives people a little bit of what they expect and a little bit of what they don't.
I try to do that.
Yeah.
And then also when I'm writing and arranging the records, I think about that too. So I place songs in a set way that might be refreshing to the ear.
Do you, when you're setting up your album, do you think of what song comes next?
That's right.
So you want people to listen, just listen from beginning to end, get the whole feel.
I prefer that.
Yeah.
But we don't get to pick.
No. Yeah.
I realized a little bit after I started this project. I'm 32 now, but I started the project as a 16-year-old.
Okay.
So it's been going on a few years, and it makes me feel old. But I realized early on that we don't get to pick what happens to the music afterwards, after we make it. So I just kind of take a back seat and just say, yeah, I made it. Yeah, and that's all I really get to do.
You can have the message you want to send, but it might not get received. Someone might interpret your song to mean something entirely different than you did, and it means something to them.
That's okay.
And that's good.
I prefer it.
Yeah.
I'm not normally the guy to tell people what my songs mean.
Yeah.
I just kind of want it to be like a painting in the way that you go to an art museum and each individual interprets it totally differently. Mm-hmm. And like I say, I'm here to just say, yeah, I made it, but I'm not here to tell you what it means. And I think there's a beauty in that, right?
That is really cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, man.
Yeah. So, what brought you out here? Was it meeting Ghost Tail?
Yeah. So I met these wonderful people in St. Louis, in my hometown.
Okay.
And we played a show, and kind of like immediately got along well, and we could tell the personalities mixed, even though the genres are very kind of over here. I'm over here and a little bit more pop oriented, wouldn't you say, and a little more melodic.
Grungy too.
Yeah, a little
I always
grunge,
hear. Well, maybe just because I know you like Nirvana, I hear it in there because I listen for it. But
I hear the grunge, but I also hear like the Midwest emo. So it's like the only thing that like we correlate and hit is that emo, because we have some emo like stuff going on, but we're heavier, and he falls more to the simplistic acoustic, and it's beautiful, really, to have like such a wide span in that genre.
Yeah, it's a great mix, But I think we realized that we, like Brittany alluded to, that our genres mixed really well in kind of a weird way. Mm-hmm. So, like, we were just in Colorado Springs on the 2nd. We played a show on the 2nd, and I was I opened the show with my acoustic act, and then every other band was a hardcore act, right? Mm-hmm. Hardcore emo act, but it did something, It was kind of like it really resonated, I think, with people maybe, and.
Kept the crowd around.
It was really rewarding. Like it was crazy how they Dear Genre brought out people's emotions. It was just insane to just look at people's faces, and they're like, "Yeah, I'm here for it." And then we get on stage, we're a little bit louder, and it was just like it was a really good show. I hope Denver lives up to it today.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
It was like a primer.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Like what you want the opening act to be.
I'm the appetizer. Yeah. I can be any appetizer you want me to be.
Yeah, you're a snack.
I can be the breadsticks. I am a snack. Thank you. Whew, it's getting a little hot in this green room.
You talk about playing with other musicians and stuff. My website, it's Square State Music. It's all about local music and Colorado music and how bands support each other and stuff. I saw that you had an interview with was STOPR.
Sure.
Their indie show. Do you have I guess what does this seem like in St. Louis? Do you have a lot of support? Is there mixes of genres or?
It's very eclectic. Yeah, it's very eclectic. So you'll get it. I'm assuming it's like that everywhere, where it's a mix of everything.
Yeah.
But it is very actually, funnily enough, very hardcore and emo based.
Okay.
In St. Louis.
You put the Midwest in the Midwest emo?
I'm sorry.
Yeah, you put the Midwest in the Midwest emo.
Yeah.
A lot of it's a little whinier. A lot of it's, I don't really have the whine.
Okay.
The whiny voice. But a lot of that in St. Louis and the Midwest is a little whinier. A lot of it is like math. What would you call it? Mathcore? Like
Math rock.
Math rock. Yeah, there's a lot of math rock in St. Louis.
I don't know what math rock is.
I guess they program a lot of things, and they're very technically musical.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So
There's a lot of musical proficiency there.
So it's very much like music theory, using the math of music to make the sounds.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I could get into that. I do programming as my normal job, so.
And then there's a lot of singer-songwriters too in St. Louis, yeah.
Uh-huh.
And we started as a blues town, our hockey team is St. Louis Blues.
Yeah.
So, which we just beat Winnipeg in overtime.
Oh, they did?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just a few minutes ago,
I
I
mean,
guess.
I just saw overtime happen, and I was
Yeah.
like...
Yeah, I missed it. But congrats. I'm not really a sports team. I'm not really much sports. But
That's fine. I'm an Avalanche fan. I don't really like the Blues, so
yeah,
that's okay.
Yeah, fuck the Blues.
Let's see. I put 1 minute on my timer. Since today is May the 4th, some Star Wars questions.
Yes, I'm a huge fan, so this is perfect.
There we go. Do you think people should watch it in release order or story order?
Release order.
Release order?
Release order.
Okay.
No, I'm sorry. Story order.
So
and then I would say
what is
stop
the-
at the Disney movies because that franchise ruined it for me. Yeah. Watch it 1 through 6.
I had my daughter, we gave her the choice, and she watched it in story order.
Did
she
she?
was so heartbroken with Darth Vader because she's like, that's Anakin.
Yeah.
That's the little kid.
Yeah.
And like the rest of us didn't see it that way. We just saw the evil Darth Vader.
Right. Yeah, that's the beauty of this. George Lucas is a genius, and he meant for it to be a full story. So I'm glad they finally released everything, and everybody got to see 1 through 6.
Yeah. Was Jar Jar Binks secretly a Sith Lord?
That's bullshit. Anybody who thinks that is not allowed at Dear Genre shows.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can appreciate that. I like that.
No, I don't believe that.
What do you think is the best Star Wars movie or character?
3. Revenge of the Sith.
Revenge of the Sith?
For me, subjectively, and character, you gotta say Anakin Skywalker.
Okay.
Because he's the crux of it all, right?
Yeah.
And he's without Anakin Skywalker. Yeah. So Anakin Skywalker. Just seeing him as a little boy and seeing how the adversity in his life turned him was a really beautiful thing.
He gets the full story.
Yeah, you get the full story there, and I watch it with empathy, so I understand how things got there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Kind of how my daughter ended up watching it. If she sees Darth Vader and she's like, that's just that poor little kid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I see it.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of similarities in life. A lot of we go through adversity, and depending on how resilient we are as individuals, it can take us to dark places, right?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of beauty in that. Yeah.
Nice. Going back to St. Louis real quick, are there any organizations that really help out local musicians and help you that you would want to call out that you can think of?
Man, I'm grateful for so many people. There's a lot of people that I'm gonna miss thanking right now that have helped me out in my time during Dear Genre, but no names are coming. Riverfront Times, thank you guys. I know you guys are dissolved now, but you guys really helped me out. What was the interview you mentioned? St. Louis Underground Music?
Yeah, the Underground Music. I have the whole name in here somewhere.
Underground Music. So I think shout out to Dave with Underground Music. There's a lot of individuals like that.
Yeah, the St. Louis Music Underground Indie Rock Podcast.
It's way too long of a
They
title,
put all
Dave,
the names in there, yes.
but way too long of a title. But Dave, thank you so much for everything you do and the belief you've had in me. That's great, man. We're just a very close, tight-knit scene. Mm-hmm. So people are just willing to give you the help and their time.
That's cool.
So I think that really bleeds through in a lot of artists' experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything you got coming up that you want to promote?
I have a show coming up. We're doing a festival back in St. Louis.
Mm-hmm.
This might not be relevant, but we're doing a yard stock festival in St. Louis City on the 10th.
Okay.
So Dear Genre will be performing as a 2-piece. I'll be on drums and vocals, and I'll have a guitarist with me. I'm really excited to play a little local festival. So yeah, if you're Midwest or local to St. Louis, come out and see me there.
Cool. Thanks a lot.
Thanks, man. I
Yeah.
appreciate your time.
Yeah. Looking forward to hearing it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Me too.
You got it.